When did you say, hey, I think I could make money doing this? Today on Business Under Fire, we're coming from Lubbock, Texas. Brick and Loft Realty has been nice enough to let us use this studio for all week. We got 2 podcasts every day all week. And today we're lucky enough to have George Hardberger, that's from beautiful Lubbock, Texas. And this is his second podcast to ever done. And I'm happy that you're doing this one with us. And we look forward to hearing your story and your journey of your entrepreneurism. Is that a word?
I think it is.
Yeah. If not, we'll just make it up.
If it's not, we'll take it. Yeah.
And, kind of go through what you started doing and the successes you've had, the pitfalls you've had, the lessons you've learned, and go from there. So thanks for coming over here and doing this with us today.
Well, glad to be here, Tommy.
What, besides golfing and, working on your beautiful house these days and traveling the world to Spain, or where did you just go?
Just went to Portugal.
Yeah, Portugal. And that's a joke, but what did you start your career doing, George?
Well, I grew up in a little town south of here called La Mesa. It was a town of 11 or 12,000 people now. I mean, then it's much smaller now. I think it's 8 or 9,000.
It's decreased?
I'm sorry?
La Mesa's decreased in size?
Most of these little towns have. I don't really know why, but just more people have moved to Lubbock and Dallas and various places. All the people my age moved to Lubbock so they'd be closer to their doctors.
Oh, yeah, now.
Yeah.
We went over that yesterday, too. Hit on some of the medical stuff in Lubbock because it's fantastic here.
Lubbock has basically 3 main economic drivers. It has agriculture, it has the medical system, and it has Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And the medical facilities here are major. They serve a huge area. Much of eastern New Mexico and most of West Texas comes here for their medical services.
It's, that's something I came for, kind of Texas Tech, and that's something I didn't realize until I got here, is just how good the medical stuff is. And 9 times out of 10, even with any medical issue, you can get it serviced here in Lubbock, top notch. So
almost anything.
Yeah,
that's right.
Even the people that have the ability to go outside and go get medical care wherever they want, most of them are staying here for 9 out of 10 things. So it's neat. Yep. So what was Dad doing while you were growing up in beautiful La Mesa?
My dad was working. He was a cotton farmer and a cotton ginner, and he was a hard-driven guy. And he was gone quite a bit. But anyway, he was always involved in agriculture. I come from a cotton ginning family. My grandfather, his father, and his brother built gins in the early 20th century when cotton production was just starting to take off. And so my dad then had interest in multiple cotton gins. I do now. And
you have cotton gins now?
I don't own any personally, but I own stock in a big ginning company in the north part of the Panhandle.
Can you explain to people what cotton is in the Panhandle of Texas?
Well, it's historically been one of the main economic drivers for West Texas. They call the High Plains of Texas the biggest cotton patch in the world.
Yeah.
We have typically over my lifetime produced a large percentage of the U.S. cotton crop. Of course, it's really volatile and it depends so much on the weather. We have wet years, we have dry years. We've had a lot of dry years lately, and until this summer.
What happens with cotton when it rains like it is right now?
Well, if it survives the hailstorms and the rough weather that you get with thunderstorms, you have a chance to make a big crop.
Oh, good. I always like to see when they hit it big, and since you're in Lubbock, you know what the farmers are doing because it's the talk of the town.
Yeah. And if you drive out in the country, you can see it. So
Yeah. What, and that's what I wanted to hear is I read that the Panhandle of Texas is the second largest cotton producing area in the world next to India.
well, that I don't know how they calculated that, but it's a big, and I don't know if that's true, but it's big. It's cotton farming has hit tough times now, though.
Yeah.
The last few years, of course we've had bad weather, we've had drought, we've got low prices, we've got prices that are in nominal dollars about the same as they were 50 years ago. And the dollar, won't buy near as much as it would back then. We've got equipment prices that are astronomical. Every input, from seed to fertilizer to any farm chemicals you use, they're all much higher than they were a few years ago.
And you've been heavily involved in cotton farming for parts of your career?
Parts of my career. Like I said, my dad was a farmer. I was a little slow to grow up. Got out of college after about 6 years, which I'm not proud of. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do. My dad helped me get set up so I could farm. Did that for a couple of years. Decided I was going to go to, decided I didn't want to farm at that age, and I wanted to get an MBA and see what I could do. So I got an MBA at the University of Texas, and took a job with a big multinational company called Anderson Clayton.
Mm-hmm.
They had a big cotton division. So I started out as a commodities analyst trainee.
What does that mean in English?
Well, that company had a big food division, which later was sold off. And but they had a food division in the U.S. They had it in South America, and so they manufactured foods. Some of the things you've probably heard of are like Mrs. Tucker's margarine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean Mrs. Tucker's shortening, 7C salad dressings. They manufactured lots of private label stuff too. And so when you do that, you've got to buy agricultural commodities, particularly oils. So there was a big commodities trading department. They had a lot of people. I worked for the guy that ran it. His name was Alan Ader, great guy. And it was almost like going to learn Chinese.
Yeah.
And somebody told me one day, I was complaining about not understanding a lot of things. And this guy said, one day you'll walk in and the light will come on. And it did.
Dang.
But I never did really trade commodities for them. He came to me and said, look, the only real job for you to take above what you got, if you stay in this, is my job. Mm-hmm. And I'm not ready to retire.
Yeah.
Said, I think you're going to be better off in management. And so they moved me to a little town called Richmond, Texas, where they had a cottonseed oil mill, an old style mill. And I became a seed buyer. And so I'd go around the area to the cotton gins and try to buy seed. I went to Louisiana and bought seed. And I don't really know if that mill's still running. It was in Richmond, but it was a fun time. I got to meet a lot of people. I discovered I was pretty good at communicating with ag folks, cotton ginners and stuff, and it was a lot of fun. And then I was there about 2 years, and they called me into the Houston office, which is where I started, and said, we want you to go to Arizona. And I went, oh, okay. What am I going to do? And they said, you're going to be the assistant crop loan officer. And I said, okay. What does that involve? And they said, well, here's how it works out there. We gin lots of cotton. But one of the things we do for our customers and to attract ginning volume is that we finance their crops. And so I moved out there, was out there 7 years, and I didn't always have that job there, but that was one of the best times of my life. Phoenix was about 2 million versus whatever it is now, 4 or 5 million. there were a great bunch of people, a lot of people in the company my age. It was a good team, and we all worked for the same goals, and so that really, and my then girlfriend was out there, and she's a deaf education person. She uses sign language. She worked at the deaf school there, the Phoenix Day School for the Deaf, and she loved her job. We had lots of friends, and it was just a great time of our lives. So if you want me to continue on the career path, I'll tell you.
Well, we're out. Yeah, I do. And but you had learned a lot. And I think I see a lot of people that get a corporate education and learn a bunch of stuff that they take from their corporate days or working for other and inject it into what they now do for themselves. So how old were you at the time that you were in Arizona doing this, and what was, I guess later on, what was the value that you learned the past few years working for this company?
Okay, I got there. I was 31, and I met a lot of people. I saw a lot of successful people. I had a great mentor there named Sonny Dale. He was a big Irishman. He looked like Tip O'Neill, if you remember Tip O'Neill. Funny guy, but he could take a complex situation and boil it down to the simplest parts of it. And he just had a great mind. Hopefully I learned something from him. I learned a lot about finance. I learned a lot about the legalities involved in lending money. I met a lot of great farmers and just good people. So all those little things just kind of add up, and you get a lot out of it.
And then when did you decide that you were going to start venturing out on your own and working on stuff for yourself?
Well, I was in Phoenix from 85 to 92. On New Year's Day 92, they moved me to Fresno, California to run their California operations. And one thing I learned, it was a great company and we had a great time there, but one thing I learned that when you're working for a company, every time you get a promotion, you get more money, but you give up a little more of your life.
Yeah.
So I was there 3 years in Fresno, another great place with lots of fine people.
A guy from La Mesa, Texas, and Fresno, California.
Yeah, that's right. That was a little more of a shock than going to Phoenix. It's just a different world out there. Although the farmers they're the same people.
Oh, good.
But there's Armenians, there's Russians, there's Italians, there's Portuguese. A big mix of cultures out there, which is one of the things that makes California great. But my dad passed away in early 1995, and so I had sort of been thinking that, this has been a pretty good 13-year span. I've enjoyed it. I've done okay, but I'm ready to move on to do something. I'd really kind of like to work for myself. So when that happened, I turned in my resignation and moved to Texas.
How long were you thinking about working for yourself before you made that jump?
Oh, I think I thought about it for a long time, but seriously, a year or two.
And what was keeping you from making it sooner? You're just doing good at the...
Yeah, I was making pretty good money. I had a lot of perks with the job, and another thing you need to know is my dad was a child of the Depression, and his idea of a great career was to get with one company and stay there the rest of your life.
Yeah,
and so we argued about that late in his life, and that may sometimes be true, but I think it's not nearly as true as it was 50, 75 years ago. So anyway, he passed away, and really, my mom was never involved in the business. And by then, he was not in the cotton gins anymore, but he was still farming. And so I just came back and took what little I knew about farming. I grew up on a farm, and I knew how to drive a tractor, and I knew a lot of things, but I didn't know everything I needed to know. Yeah. But there were people that helped me, and so I farmed there for a while, and then
So you stopped at the good job that you had, the good career, and went in straight into farming.
Correct.
And you, I mean, you had to buy the seed. You had to,
In those days, seed was not a big issue.
yeah,
Historically, what had happened in West Texas was that people would, when they ginned their cotton, they would save some of the seed. They'd collect it at the gin
right.
and have it delinted, and they'd plant it again. But that was about at the beginning of it was a little before the beginning of Roundup Ready cotton, but you were seeing more and more people buy more high quality seeds.
So that was before they got into all the hybrid seeds and the getting into the fancy seeds.
It's before they got into the genetically modified seeds. But that happened very soon thereafter, maybe just a couple of years after that, where you could buy seed that was Roundup Ready, but it wasn't completely Roundup Ready. You could only spray it at certain times, at a certain stages in the cotton plant's life, and of course that all evolved to be much easier later. Not much later either.
It's wild what they can do with plants now.
Yeah, it is.
Just wild. You started planting the farm, planting cotton first time, and how did that work out for you?
Worked out fine. I was lucky in that I already had equipment, my dad's equipment, and I had a couple of hands that were pretty good. And it's funny, he owned a good deal of land, but all he was farming himself was 2 sections, and a section 640 acres. He was farming 2 sections of rented land. It was owned by a trust out of like Cleveland, and it was managed by a bank out of Kansas City. But he had a good relationship, and I developed a good relationship with the trust officer at the bank. It was Boatman's National Bank.
But he owned a bunch of land as well, but he only farmed other people's land.
Yeah, that had just happened in the last few years as he got older. He was 75 when he died, and he wished he'd lived longer, but he had diabetes and didn't really take care of himself like he should have. But I think he did that. He had a young man that worked for him whose father had worked for my dad, and this guy worked for me later, and in fact he's still with me.
Wow.
And he's almost as old as I am.
Wow. Hopefully he's got an AC tractor now.
Well, we're not farming anymore, but
Yeah.
I find things for him to do from time to time, and he's still kind of on the payroll.
Oh, good. Well, run us through some of the good times that you had farming and some of the rough times, and then how it transitioned into other parts of your business, and tell us what those are.
Okay. Well, my dad had always told me that farm that he was renting through the bank in Kansas City had water. And so I talked to the banker and said, look, there are all these wells out there. Let's see if we can irrigate this farm. Because he was just farming at dry land. And I don't know how many wells there were. There were a number,
Just capped
10.
off wells.
Yeah, they still had the pumps in them.
Yeah.
So I took a big chance and bought 2 half-mile sprinkler systems, the pivot type. So those would irrigate about 500 acres each.
The center pivots.
Center pivots, but they're half-mile or so. You can water 500 acres with a half-mile system. Mm-hmm. And we went in and we tested those wells, and boy, there was so much water. And in fact, we put a 50 horsepower pump in, which is huge here. The water wasn't real deep. I learned some real good lessons there, though. We made some great crops for 2 or 3 years, and then the water started going down.
The water table got lower, so that
the water table had built up because it hadn't been irrigated in 20 or 30 years.
Right.
And I learned that just because, and people told me this, but I didn't necessarily believe them.
or listen.
They said, yeah, you can't count on what these test pumps show you. It'll give you a false idea of how good it is. And those, by the way, those pivots are still there and they're still operating, but they're not pumping the amount of water through them that they were back then.
What's the difference on just called a section of land that's irrigated and not non-irrigated? What's the possible spread in revenue between that type of a crop that's irrigated and not?
Well, it's nowadays. Okay, here's how I would put it.
How did you decide you wanted to drill or test this well again?
Because I knew we could make much bigger crops, and a good dryland yield on a good year. I mean, sometimes it's better, but a good year growing dryland cotton, you make a bale the acre. A good year back then on irrigated cotton would be 2.5, maybe 3 bales the acre. Now we've got higher powered seed now.
Yeah.
There are guys that make 4 bales to the acre. But what I discovered was that while I was making much bigger crops, I was spending a lot more money to grow them. So, big electric bills, big fertilizer bills. We weren't into the real expensive seed back then. And then it was done on a sharecrop basis. So the bank got a quarter, or the trust department got a quarter of everything we produced. And they paid some of the expenses. But pretty soon I learned that, man, that's kind of risky. You're spending several $100,000 here, and it's great if everything works out.
Yeah.
But if you lose that crop, or you end up with a real sorry crop, you're either not going to make any money or you're going to lose money.
Had you just saved money from your corporate job to be able to afford to run a farm, or did Dad leave some money that you could run it?
I had a little money from an inheritance. Back then, you couldn't leave very much money without running into a big inheritance tax. So my mother inherited everything beyond the lifetime exemption that was available at the time, which was, at that time, it was $600,000 is all you could leave without paying tax. And so I had that. I borrowed some money, which I'm not crazy about. I've always been a little bit debt averse, even though I was a lender. But I've seen guys get in trouble.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it wasn't really what I thought it was going to be. It was pretty good. We made money. But we took a lot of risk, and so nowadays, it's way harder.
Yeah.
Especially if it's much easier if you own your own land, and if you own your own land and your land and equipment's paid for, yeah, that's a much better situation than a guy with a lot of debt. But most people have a fair amount of debt, and it's also a much better situation than renting land from somebody.
But those, like a cotton stripper, aren't they $1 million or $1.5 million now?
Probably close to $1 million for the latest round bale cotton stripper.
And how long is it going to take you to clear a section of land with a $1 million stripper? So you need 2 or 3?
Well, if you're a big farmer, you do. The speed of harvest is commensurate with how good your crop is.
Yeah.
The better the crop, the slower it is. But I mean, it makes things difficult. And tractors are $300,000-$400,000.
Yeah.
I bought a brand new tractor back in the late '90s, mid '90s, for $70,000. That a similar tractor now costs you $250,000-$300,000. It's just all these things have piled up on us, and it's made it difficult, along with our low price commodity.
Yeah. Well, how many years were you just or were you just farming?
I farmed for about 20 years.
And how were the ups and downs of that ride for you?
They were pretty good, mostly because I always rented some land, but I owned a good bit of what I farmed. But at some point, I ran into an old friend of mine who I graduated from high school with, and he said, "Hey, I've got a son you ought to talk to," and he'd make a great partner. He's a fine guy. He makes good decisions. And I thought, that would make my life easier. So I talked to the young man and I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. If you want to do this, you can work for me for 1 year and we'll see how it works out. And then if it works out, then I'll bring you in as a partner. And
On all the farming stuff?
on all the stuff I was farming.
Yeah.
And so his name's Wade Vaughn. He's still farming my land up here.
Yeah.
He's not a spring chicken anymore, but
Yeah.
neither am I. But his dad told me right. He's a fine guy, and he tries hard, and he loves to be a farmer.
Good.
So he and I farmed together for probably 10 or 12 years, maybe a little more than that. And then he came to me one day, and by then I was like in my 60s, early 60s. And he said, hey, my brother wants to come in and farm, and are you thinking about retiring? And I said, I think that sounds pretty good because I've got other things I want to do.
Yeah.
And so I sold them my part of the equipment, and they started farming my land. So it's all been pretty good. But I mean, there've been plenty of downsides.
Yeah.
One year, when Wade and I were partners, we sold all our cotton. You can contract your cotton ahead of time. We sold our cotton ahead of time for 83 cents, which at the time was a great price.
Yeah.
We thought, boy, we're going to ring the bell this year. We're going to make a good crop. We did make a pretty good crop. Problem was who we sold it to. And this company was a 200-year-old company. It'd been maybe not in cotton for 200 years, but they were highly respected.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the market went crazy that year. It went up to $2 a pound.
Oh.
But here's what happened. That when these cotton companies, this is at least my understanding of it, when these cotton companies buy cotton from a farmer, they go hedge it. They sell
Right.
it. They sell it on the futures. And until they can move the physical cotton, to a buyer. What happened that year, those markets shot up like a skyrocket, and so they got margin calls of unbelievable proportions. And even the biggest company in the world got hammered. And so what happened to this company is the same thing that happened to Julian Hohenberg back in the 80s, or maybe early 90s. No, it was late 80s. The bank that financed the operation said, we're not making these margin calls anymore. And when you can't meet your margin calls, they liquidate your position. And as fast as that market went up, it went down.
Oh.
We put our cotton in the loan that year. That's in the 50s, low 50s. We worked all year and we split about $30,000 that year. God. And we thought we were going to make a ton.
Oh.
But that's one of those experiences. And I don't know how we would have protected ourselves there because it happened to a number of big companies. But it was unfortunate.
I wonder what does drive the cotton prices at the end of the day. How many T-shirts are selling? How many clothes? What the economy is? All over the world.
All those things. It's a worldwide market.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of competition from other countries that grow cotton, and there's a lot of competition from synthetics. The synthetics have gotten better and better.
Yeah.
And it's just made it harder.
Yeah. Is cotton used for anything other than, clothing, Q-tips? What else does cotton go into?
It goes sheets. It's really got lots of uses. Sheets, towels, but lots of clothing. It's still my favorite fabric. But it's getting harder to find a cotton shirt. Looks like you're wearing one.
I don't know. It's from Howard's place, so who knows?
Yeah, I'm probably not. I'm sorry to say. But it's just competitive factors. And the fact that the synthetics they've been major competition.
Polyester. The polyester shirts to me are just too hot.
I agree.
They say they're breathable and they just hold in everything. I don't like them.
I'm with you. They call them performance
Yeah, I don't
shirts.
think so.
But I play golf, and I'll go in the pro shop and I'll look for a cotton shirt.
And they're non-existent now?
Almost non-existent.
I like the cotton ones.
Yep.
Well, you were in cotton for most of your life, and then you've transitioned. How I've met you is through some of your real estate deals that you've been doing and working on. How long have you been involved in real estate? When did you decide, you know what, I think I want to buy a piece of property and either develop it or hold on to it and then do something with it? When did you start tinkering with that?
Well, my dad had helped me get a little bit of farmland. He had given me some. And then when my mom died in 99, I inherited some more farmland. But I was living in La Mesa. I'd moved back from California to La Mesa and lived there 4 years and had 2 kids. And I'm going, I really think Lubbock's a better place for us. I had the idea that it rained more in Lubbock too.
It does this year.
Well, it's rained a lot down there too. But anyway, so I moved to Lubbock and commuted back and forth and did
just
that
60 miles.
Yeah.
Is it an hour on the dot?
It's a little less.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while. Had a little office in La Mesa, and boy, I got tired of driving down there though. And there was a guy that I knew that had a piece of land for sale in Lubbock, and he kept trying to sell it to me. And I said, the price is too high. And I had a realtor friend in La Mesa, an old guy who was my best buddy's dad. And I talked to him about it. He goes, "That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money." And it was $1,500 an acre is what he wanted, which doesn't sound like a lot of money now.
Yeah.
But eventually, we just, every month or two, he'd call me and say, "Won't you buy that farm?" So finally, I said, "Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll trade you. I've got a section of land in Gaines County. It's in the CRP. Throws off a nice little check every year. I'll trade you that, and I'll give you X number of dollars on top of it." And he said, "You got a deal." So I liked this farm in Lubbock because it was on the edge of town. It's right behind the John Deere house. It had some wells. It didn't have any, it did have one pivot system on it. But we made that trade, and my thinking on that trade was, this is better than a farm because this will be developable at some point.
What road was this on?
It's right on the Clovis Highway, on the south side of the Clovis Highway. And right now, Slide Roads goes right through the middle of it.
Oh.
And so I thought, well, either I can develop this or my kids can develop it. In the meantime, I can make a living farming it. And so, I just felt like it was a long-term, probably pretty good play. And then a farm right next to it on the north side of it became available, and I bought that. And I developed the irrigation on the original purchase and ended up with I had 2.5 circles. So about whatever that is.
That's funny, the unit of measurement. And
300 acres of irrigated.
Yeah, for people that want to know what that looks like, look out the window when they're in an airplane.
Yeah, that's right.
He had 2 circles and a quarter moon.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess that was my first real foray into real estate, and thinking I would keep that for the rest of my life or at least 20 years. Turned out to be wrong, because I got a call one day from Delbert McDougall. Mm-hmm. And he goes, "You interested in selling that farm?" And I said, "Well, I might be." And that began a conversation that went on for a few months, and eventually I sold it to Delbert, and we became really good friends, and he was really good to me, and it was the first time I'd really, hit a pretty good lick.
On real estate
real
or
estate.
in general?
On real estate. Well, really in general.
Yeah.
I worked for a salary when I was with Anderson Clayton,
Mm-hmm.
and then I farmed and made some pretty good money. But that was the first time I kind of had some kind of a windfall.
So that opened your eyes. Did that kind of trigger your thinking into, man, we could do this again somehow?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. It did.
How long had you held on to that farm?
Less than 5 years.
And, what would you say to somebody that's trying to get in a hurry with real estate?
I would say don't be in a hurry.
Yeah.
Because my experience has been that this is a cliche, but you make your money when you buy it.
Well, there was a guy sitting in your chair yesterday that's done very well, and that came out of his mouth as well. And for those listening, there's two successful guys that are saying that. So make sure to chip away in the front of that real estate project on the number that you're going to pay.
Yeah.
And I've heard that several times from people, but from two guys that are experienced. I mean, that take it to the grave. So you saw that you could make some money on that transaction. And was that was your first big real estate transaction?
It was.
And you developed, you fixed up, upgraded, and improved that land in the 2 years. Was that a significant investment on the improvements?
Not really. I mean, it was a fair amount of money, but the wells were all there.
Yeah.
I had to replace some pumps. I had to put in some underground line and pour some pivot pads, and I had to buy some pivots.
What was he telling you that he wanted to do with the land? Or does it matter?
It does, only because it tells you how he thinks.
Yeah.
He goes, George, this is the last decent sized piece of land in LISD, Lubbock Independent School District.
Oh.
This will be developed. And so, the deal I made with him was I get to farm it for nothing. Mm-hmm. Well, almost nothing.
Yeah.
Until it gets developed.
Yeah.
And he wanted to keep the ag exemption.
Yeah.
And so he really wasn't looking for income from farming. But he was such a cool guy. He drove a Bentley.
Yeah.
And I'd go to his office and he'd go, "You want to go look at the farms?" And I'd say, "Yeah." So we'd go have lunch and we'd drive around the Bentley and look at the farms. And he'd tell me his stories, and it was just fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Oh,
He had a name for me, Hard Work. How's hard work doing?
Oh, good. Oh, because the real estate for him is easier than the farming.
I think it was a play on my last name, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's not very many Bentleys going around Lubbock
Not too
either,
many.
are there?
No.
I wonder how many are here.
I don't know.
Maybe a handful.
I would say a handful.
I've never seen any, and I don't know if I've seen one Ferrari here.
Yeah, you'll see a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Well, the roads are good here, so if somebody needs a good car, it's a good place to have one. Well, what did you jump onto after you did that farm? Where did you got a little itch, the real estate itch? You thought, man, this is a good way that I could turn a profit on some things. And what'd you jump into next?
Went to the hill country and bought a little ranch down west of Dripping Springs.
Yeah. How'd you find that?
Had a realtor friend in La Mesa who's a good friend of mine, and I told him I wanted to go down there, and I needed a buyer's agent. And so we made 2 or 3 trips down there and looked around, and I bought a place, and
just to buy it, hold it,
yeah,
fix it up, and sell it.
we didn't even fix it up.
Oh, good.
But it was a beautiful little place, and so I bought that. I did a 1031 exchange on some of my money. Some of it I paid tax on. I ended up buying a ranch east of Post. Had that for a few years. Anyway, I learned a lesson there though.
On which one?
On 1031s.
Yeah.
You're not eliminating the taxes. You're deferring them. and they might be higher later.
Oh.
So at the time I sold the Lubbock farm to Delbert, the capital gains rate was 15%. That was it. It was flat. And so I did a 1031, and I may have 1031'd again. But at some point, I was in a 1031, and I couldn't find any property I really wanted that I felt like was worth the money. And so that gain you made in the beginning carries forward. I ended up paying 23.8% instead of 15%, which I should have been smarter. I should have said 15% is okay. I'm going to pay my tax and go on. But that's a lesson learned.
Yeah, the lessons learned are you learn that and then you do it the next time. I'm really good at learning the hard way.
Yeah, my lessons have to be paid for.
Yeah. So what happened with the Dripping Springs property?
Well, a guy called me one day, a realtor, who I also became friends with. He said, would you be interested in selling that place? And I said, well, maybe. And he said, I've got a guy that really wants it. I said, make me an offer. He made me an offer, and it was good. And I said, hey, I'm liking this business.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you, a lot of my success was luck and good timing. Mm-hmm. It was a time when, I probably made most of my money from 2006 to 2020 or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was a time where we had low interest rates. We had increasing demand in recreational property.
Yeah.
We just had a lot of things going for us. And anyway, I saw that. I can't remember the exact sequence of what we did, but I bought some farmland up in the North Panhandle where the water was and still is real good. And so trying to think how long we had that, 4 or 5 years. I ended up with a pretty good size.
Were y'all farming it?
No, we were renting it.
Oh.
And but I think my average cost in that was around $1,100 an acre. And one day, this same realtor that went to the hill country with me came in and he said, hey, you interested in selling that Hansford County stuff? And I said, maybe. He said, well, give me a price. And I said, $3,000 an acre, which no land, I don't think, at that time had sold for $3,000 an acre. Mm. And he called me that night and said, this guy's going to take it.
Dang.
There's a downside to that, though. Within 90 days, the guy that bought it from me had sold it for $3,500 an acre.
Oh.
And before the year was out, it had sold again for $4,000 an acre.
What did they know that you didn't know?
They knew the market was going up a lot. And that land now, I mean, in the long run, I made a mistake selling it. That land now, some of that land will bring $7,000 an acre.
Wow.
And we never thought we'd see that in West Texas.
Wow. But what, it's hard to predict all of that stuff. And if you're not farming it and you're just sitting on the land, it's not really producing any revenue for people. So how do you look at your investments? Is that what you look at them as? Or you're just going to purchase land? It's an investment. It's going to sit there, and one day somebody's going to call.
No, that land I bought because it would generate income, and I had a pretty good farmer on it, and so I got rent every year, and it was pretty good.
Good. And
then I had invested through a company that I was involved in a gin up there, and I think it probably still is the biggest gin in the United States.
What are the cotton gin? I'm ignorant on this, but what are the cotton gins? What do they do exactly?
Okay, the cotton, when it's stripped, there's some picked, and do you know the difference between stripping and picking?
No.
Okay, a picker, which is what they do in much of the United States, certainly in California and Arizona, it's a machine. It looks a lot like a stripper, but it has these rotating cylinders with turning spindles, and those spindles have little barbs, and they'll just pull that lint out of the cotton boll, and then it's doffed off and goes into a basket, and so it's much cleaner. It's just, and I've had some cotton picked before, but a stripper. The reason we do strippers out here is that we get lots of wind and storms, and that if you grow that really open style of cotton, a lot of it can end up on the ground.
Oh,
So they developed what they call stormproof cotton, and that in that the bolls don't open quite as wide. So it stays in the burr better. And a stripper just takes the burr and the cotton with it. So and we have burr extractors on these strippers now.
yeah.
So it's cleaner than it would have been in the old days, but it's still not as clean as picked cotton, because you've still got bits of leaves and sometimes bark from the stalk and so forth. But the gin then takes that cotton, they clean it, they remove the seed from it, because that's really a reproductive thing, the cotton boll.
Right.
And so the seed is taken off. The best gins do the least amount of damage to the fiber. And there are a lot of aspects to the fiber that are important in the pricing of it, but that's basically what a cotton gin does. And so it takes that fiber and packages it into a bale.
And are you, as the farmer, selling to the gin?
No, we pay the gin. Basically, they charge a fee of so much per hundredweight of raw material that goes through.
And then they sell it?
No, we own the farmer still owns the lint.
Okay.
Typically, the gin buys the seed, and they sell it to dairies or sell it to an oil mill, and that's how they make their spread. But that counterbalances the fee for ginning. So lots of years, the value of the seed is high enough that it'll more than pay for the ginning charges.
Oh.
Sometimes by a lot, but that seed price fluctuates too, just like cotton prices do.
So who are you guys selling your cotton to?
Well, the cotton merchandising has changed so much over the years. There were cotton merchants on every corner 40 years ago. In fact, I live downtown, and I'm surrounded by old cotton offices.
Oh, really?
But it's pretty much done on the internet now. It's impersonal. But I mean, it's just the way it's worked out. Also, there's a thing called HVI, high volume instrument classing, which has been around a long time. But in the old days, these cotton merchants they'd look at the samples, they would put it between their fingers, and they'd look at it and determine how long the fiber was and what it looked like, and how it felt, and they would base their price on that. But it's all done with HVI now.
Interesting.
And it has been for a long time, really.
Interesting. Old Josh Warner, one of my buddies, that's a farmer who listened to the podcast. He'll be all into this one. So he started farming probably at 25 or 30. Yeah. No parents,
Really?
Buying all
he
his
did
own
it the hard
stuff.
way.
Oh,
Yeah.
he is. And but you get to watch him and how he's upgrading and getting better equipment, leasing more land, and now his son is running a tractor at 10. And
that's what you do when you're a farm boy. You learn to drive a tractor early.
Yeah, he's a farm boy. He needs to be sponsored by Coors Light, though, because he's always got one of those in the tractor. So he doesn't have it easy, but he's working hard. And I got another guy named James Clark that's working and getting into cattle and farming, and he's working his tail off, too, from scratch. It's wild to watch him do it. But, well, what else are you involved in on real estate stuff? That's been your primary source of income for the past 15 years?
Well, probably all my adult life, certainly since I came back to Texas, I've had farm income, whether it was rent that I received or what I got from actually farming myself. But the things that have done better for me are long-term capital gains I've made on real estate deals.
And how many additional real estate deals after the Dripping Springs property have you done?
I don't know, a fair number.
More than you can count?
No, I could probably count them up if I had time, but I don't know. I've done more than several, and I bought a place. Sometimes I had partners, like I bought a place at Lockhart about 5 or 6 years ago, and we bought it right, and then we sold it, and we had a good return on it. That was about the time that Tesla announced, though, that they were moving.
Oh, crap.
Pretty close, and I tried to buy my way out of that contract, and I couldn't do it. So we sold it, and we made a pretty good return. And I've done a lot of stuff downtown.
When you tried to buy your way out of the contract, when they, unfortunately, we've learned the hard way that when the contract is signed, it's signed.
Yeah.
And the seller is selling. The buyer can get out, but the seller can't get out.
That's right.
And so you were the seller trying to buy. What were you doing?
I offered him $50,000 to terminate the contract, and he said, "No, thank you."
Oh.
It was a pretty cool little place. And so I had a good friend in Sherman who I grew up with, sort of, and we became really close friends, and we did some deals together. One thing that was, and this comes back to the luck and good timing, in 2008, when the financial crisis, hit, I had some cash still, from some of the deals I'd done, and I called this buddy of mine. I said, "Hey, there's a quarter section next to the high school in Shallowater that we can buy right, and I think we can, make several times our money if we hold it a while." And because there were developers at that time that just needed to raise cash, and so I bought that right. And then 2 or 3 years later, somebody came along and offered us 3 times our money. And I called my friend and I said, "You want to sell it?" And he goes, "No." I said, "Why not?" And he goes, "Because you told me we'd make 5 times our money." I said, "Okay." And we made 5 times our money a few years later.
Oh, that's a great. How do you, what do you start thinking about and mulling around in your brain on property that you want to purchase or a project that you want to do? What's your thought process on the lifespan of one of your projects?
Well, it's not very scientific, but I look at how much I think I can buy it for. I look at what I think can be done with it, or what will happen that will make it more valuable in 3 or 4 or 5 years. One example of that was the Godbold Center, which is it was a property that was right across the street from Texas Tech, and I felt like I bought it right, and I felt like I could sell it to somebody else. I didn't really want to get into the development part myself, because you're talking big money
and headaches.
Yeah. So we had to get it rezoned, though, and that was a lesson for me. Yeah. We ran into an opponent, which was the neighborhood association, and they were very organized and very passionate, and I had it in contract to a student housing developer out of Chicago, and everybody, I had some family and friends invested in it too, and mostly family. But I really thought this would be a quick deal, and we'd make a pretty good little chunk and move on. But what I found was a very potent opponent, and I didn't like them very much, but I had to admire them because they were good, and they got a shot down. But I found another developer came along through a realtor friend of ours, yours and mine, and he kind of took a different approach, and he was much more collaborative, and plus our city council had changed, and then president of the neighborhood association had changed. But a lot of it had to do with this developer, and
What did he do different?
he really listened to the complaints or what the perceived problems were on the part of the neighborhood, and I think they respected that. I know they appreciated that. And it's not that we didn't have opposition, but it wasn't as fierce the second time around.
Y'all had it bad. I know that the first time.
It wasn't much fun. And, I really thought we'd win the first time, but I was naive in thinking so. So anyway, this guy, his name is Tyler Perlmutter. He's
Perlmutter?
Perlmutter, Perlmetter, great guy, young guy, and he's a student housing guy. But he met with, actually, his wife was having a baby when we had our first meeting with the neighborhood association. So he's there on a speakerphone, on an iPhone, that one of the guys is carrying around so people can hear what he's saying. But he made such a good presentation as to how he cared about the neighborhood and wanted to make this as, the least impactful on them as possible. And he just did a good job. The biggest complaint they had was that there's not enough parking, and they're going to park all over our neighborhood and all this stuff. And he listened and he heard that, and he added another floor to his parking garage at great expense, I might say.
Yeah.
And so that really helped. It just helped calm people down, and I think our city council did a good job in looking at it and saying, this is going to be good for Tech, it's going to be good for Lubbock, and this guy's a good operator, and we think he'll do the right thing.
How long did you think it was going to take to sell that property when you bought it?
A year.
And then how long did it take?
It took nearly 4 years.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, it is.
A big difference. Were the investors like, hey, George?
Everybody was nice, but I think everybody was a little nervous.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And, when something takes that long beyond what you expected,
yeah.
Even if you do well, your returns, they're just not quite as good.
I'm sitting on that big building in Lubbock, and it was 1102. I thought it would take, I don't know, maybe a year to turn and get rid of. And man, just nobody's looking at that. Maybe we need a new realtor, Bill. But Bill had been calling, wanting that listing for a long time. I said, Bill, you're not going to sell it. And it hasn't sold. But, part of what you're saying and what I was listening to is how you look at a property. It's all hope. It's all gathering the best knowledge that you have to predict the future, that this land is going to go up and appreciate in value. And it's based on all of the knowledge and inputs that you can get, like as much studying that you could do for the future. And,
right.
And I don't know nobody's just gonna tell you that. You could take their information and put it in your arsenal of what you think, but it's based on futures. And one thing I really like about that 1102 building is that they're talking, we had McDougal here yesterday, and they're talking about moving the expo center down there, having a rodeo thing down there, and you're heavily invested on Broadway right now, and I don't remember what you've said or not. I don't think it's gone as fast as you've wanted it to go.
It hasn't. I think it's a great project, but it's just slow, and there's so much to be done, and there's money to be raised, and we're not ready to ask for money yet. It takes a long time to decide exactly what you're going to do, to get the right people in place to help. I mean, we're looking at a food hall.
Yeah.
We're going to build a food hall.
Well, you own the property.
We own the property.
Yeah.
And that was the easy part, buying the property. The hard part then is putting all the pieces together, because we want to do it right. We wanted to make a statement. We wanted to be a real asset to to downtown Lubbock.
Yeah. Well, I think, and it seemed like I've been in Lubbock for 8 years, and the words has always been downtown's coming, and that's been 8 years, and it has changed a lot, and it does look a lot better. But if they do move the convention center and build a gigantic hotel and do what they're talking about doing, then we're going to hit the lottery on that part of Broadway.
Lubbock will change enormously and for the better if we can get this stuff done that you're talking about. So, yeah, I'm not just thinking about my investment. I'm thinking about downtown itself.
Yeah.
You know, every good city has a great downtown.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something funny. When I moved to Phoenix in 1985, downtown Phoenix was the most derelict thing you've practically ever seen.
Oh.
And while I was there, I was in that area for 7 years, one or two things happened. And they built this place called One Arizona Center. And it was a high rise. It was a mixed use high rise. And then things started happening around it. And if you went to Phoenix now and went downtown, you wouldn't believe it was ever derelict.
Well, and that's the same with downtown Nashville. I used to go downtown Nashville when I was 21, 22. I would go there every month. And it was just, there wasn't a whole lot to it.
Yeah.
And now downtown Nashville is just unreal. And so when you talk about your food hall, that's the food hall that I've been to several times.
That's one of the best, I hear.
God, it's not. You haven't been there?
No.
Oh, it'll open your eyes.
Yeah.
But it is massive.
Yeah.
Just massive. And parking garages, and it is one of the hubs of downtown that everybody goes and eats lunch and dinner, and they have events up top, and it's just a beautiful place. Beautiful. So I hope Lubbock changes pretty soon so y'all can get that thing going and I can get my building sold or find somebody that wants to develop it. Or
all these things will be, if they come to pass, will be great for your building and for your investment in that building.
Yeah. Well, I'm crying.
Something will happen there.
I'm crying about it now, but I hope I won't be crying about it later. My business partner, Daniel, kind of says the same thing. And, it takes time. Everybody's impatient and wants stuff now. And you're proof that stuff doesn't happen now. Just buy it, relax.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what else do you have going on for your future? You're I don't want to say it, but you're getting in your latter years.
Yeah.
And one of the things I see with entrepreneurs that you've been working for yourself half your life, or more than half your life now, and they got this burning desire just to keep going. It's hard for them to start going the other way, and I've seen it a ton because of guys that I mowed their grass that own great businesses and done real estate investments and bought and sold things. And so what are you looking forward to for your future and doing, and what's in the works for you?
Well, I'll still make real estate investments. I'm looking a little more towards income-related investments now than I used to. Not so much the capital gains, because those take a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And I'm 71. I'm nearly 72. So I'm not sure I want to wait 10 years for for something to come through. But I'm trying to help my sons. I've got two boys, and one is getting his commercial appraiser's license right now, and he's been involved in real estate for a few years, and the other one is less involved, but I'm trying to help them get established. I don't plan to quit. I don't want any more big projects like where there's a fight over a zoning issue or something like that. I prefer not to do that. I might invest in one, but I don't really want to be the guy, the main guy. I'm looking for things that it'll generate some income. That I sold a project I had recently. I own most of a block on further east on Broadway, and really decided I don't want to spend the money, and I just don't want to do it. And these younger guys came along and bought it from me. I didn't make much money, if any, but I got it out of my hair, and I took that money and bought a good income producing property. So that's really more what I'm looking at. I'd still like to do some ranches, a ranch, if we could find a way to make some money on it, cleaning it up. I had a partner one time from Austin, and we bought a ranch. I had to talk him into coming in with me, but I let him run the show, which was smart in at least one way. He really knew how to clean up a ranch, and we bought a brushy old, pretty good sized place between Wimberley and Dripping Springs, and it had these balconies. You understand balconies? It's like a balcony. The topography there, you'll have these shelves around these hills, and he knew how to go in there and clear those. We didn't clear 2% of that ranch, but he cleared those balconies so you could drive around them and you could have a view. You'd be up on the higher part, and we owned that 7 months and sold it and did really well.
Good.
I know that's another one though. If we'd have kept it, that stuff's just gone up and up and up.
It's skyrocketed.
But that was his MO. He'd clean them up, sell them, make a pretty good quick return, and I I was happy with that.
Yeah. Well, if somebody wants to pitch you something or show you some land that they've got, how do they find you? Or a business deal? Are you interested in hearing any of those?
Sure.
How do they find you?
Well, they can call me or email me.
Okay.
So my email is ghardberger@gmail.com.
And you're willing to look at projects anywhere in Texas or anywhere in the U.S.?
Yeah, I think we get outside of Texas. I'd look outside of Texas, but I think I know Texas better.
Yeah.
I probably have a better chance of making a reasonable decision in Texas.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we appreciate you telling your story today and your ups and downs. And it sounds like real estate's been good to you. How would you suggest somebody got into real estate if they were a 25, 30-year-old guy?
Boy, there are a lot of ways. And you could get in with a broker, and it takes a while to make a living as a sales agent.
Yeah,
you got to pay your dues, but the ones that stick with it, a lot of them have done very well.
Yeah,
I know a young, probably 30-year-old broker here he's kind of the guy. He's one of the guys that people go to if they want to buy a farm. And he sold 2 or 3 pieces for me, and he paid his dues, but he also developed a network.
Yeah,
and so he's got buyers, and that's one way. You could go to work as an appraiser. One good way if you could get in with a big appraisal company and get your license and just get that experience on what things are worth.
Yeah.
The best thing you can have is access to cash. If you can, not many 25-year-olds have much cash, but if you have ready cash, there will come a time when there are some real opportunities where prices are depressed. And if you understand the market more or less, you don't have to be a genius, but if you can see those opportunities, then that's when you want to buy. So there's also, I know guys that own lots of rent houses. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
But they've owned them for years and paid, borrowed money on every one of them, and eventually the first ones get paid off, and they start paying down the other. One friend of mine has, 20 or so. He goes, "That's my retirement," and they're all paid off.
Yeah,
which is a great deal.
Yeah.
It just takes, it takes time, and I think it's difficult right now to find a really good deal in real estate.
Stuff's high.
But that won't always be that way, I don't think.
I know. I wonder if it's going to come down, but it seems like the prices on stuff just shot up during COVID, and I'm guilty as anything. I bought a 10 acres right outside of San Antonio and 2.5 times my money. Well, then they base everything off of, oh, this guy sold that. Here's this. And you just saw the prices in Marion, just skyrocket, and it's everywhere.
Yeah, but you know, you bought it in an area that's growing like crazy.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. It may seem high now, but I bet it won't seem high in 5 years.
Yeah. Well, what would you tell your 20-year-old self? What advice would you give 20-year-old George at this point in your life if he was standing here today?
I think the biggest thing I would say is don't get too debt laden. Never borrow money that you don't know how you're going to pay back. And never put too much money in a startup, which I've done a couple of times and taken a bath.
Yeah, it's not. Startups are hard. We have that.
They're really hard.
We have. I had a business broker on here, and it seems like people are actually learning, and I've learned that because I've bought businesses that were operating. And the difference between getting that thing off the ground and running versus having it running already is night and day.
Oh, yeah.
And the amount of work and stress and stuff that it takes to get those puppies running is crazy.
Yep.
Well, we've enjoyed our time with you today. We love hearing your story. If somebody has a deal or land that they want to let George buy, right? He's still looking and he's still in the game, and we hope you're here for a long time. And keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks,
so,
Tommy.
yeah, I appreciate you being here.
That's been fun. Thanks.
Yeah, enjoyed it.